Not going to bring up the blister.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't bring up the blister, but, that's a story for another time.
Tipping Liverpool to stay up this year.
Thanks for explaining how the Premier League works then.
Enjoy that now.
No.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Football Times podcast with myself, RadioTimes.com sport editor Michael Potts, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by Mr. Jake Wilson of BBC Match of the Day magazine. How's it going, sir?
Feel better now. Heard those words in that way, Michael. I've been waiting all week for it, and thank you for blessing me with it once again. I'm good. The football world has been interesting, mainly because I scored an absolute rocket in fives on Tuesday night. The world's been talking about that alone.
Yeah, that has been the headline news this week. Jake scored a goal. But let's not beat around the bush here. What a week for football. I mean, any day where Jose Mourinho can be sacked, and I kind of forgot about it by dinner time, that kind of suggests how big this week has been, how crazy Monday was, how crazy Tuesday was, and how ultimately satisfying the whole thing ended. Beautiful. We'll be chatting a little bit about the European Super League later on, but we'll be trying to put a bit of a not a positive spin on the league itself, but we're trying to put a spin on how football can go forward and heal and mend from this situation after such a turbulent time. We'll also be bringing up to speed with all the latest Fantasy Premier League tips, and as ever, we're going to kickstart the show looking at some of the biggest games on TV this weekend, a couple from the Premier League, and a big old cup final to look forward to as well. Shall we get going, Mr. Wilson?
Please.
Let's get into it. Football. It's nice to talk about football, I don't want to talk about men in suits. I want to talk about football. So let's do that.
It's been on every day this week, basically. It's been matches all the time, and they've kind of washed past us. But let's get it back. Let's get our game back.
Get back in the rhythm. Stick that TV on for the right reasons to watch the football again. Starting on Saturday, 24th of April, it's a 5:30 kickoff on Sky Sports Premier League main event, and now it's West Ham versus Chelsea. Now that fixture in the past has been feisty. It's been there's been some fraught tempers in those games. I guess never before or for a long time we haven't seen a game between these two that has meant quite so much. I mean, they're both neck and neck. They're both a little bit patchy for form. There's not really a massive favourite out of these two. Level on points. And there's a Champions League place up for grabs. I mean, this is quite an unprecedented game between West Ham and Chelsea, really.
Yeah, it's the momentum builder, isn't it? It's who's taking the advantage and moving on and pushing towards those Champions League places. Who's having it in their hands, which at this point in the season is the phrase that we hear all the time and is so important. And you've got two sides that are quite different, really. After the week's interesting news, people, rightly so, aren't super keen on Chelsea for signing up for what they signed up to. But West Ham have somehow emerged as everyone's second favourite Premier League team. Out of nowhere, everyone wants them to win every game and break that monopoly of the top four and keep teams like Chelsea and Liverpool out of the Champions League. It would be beautiful karma, and they've got players that you want to be watching and who are exciting. And yeah, the mood as a neutral towards West Ham is the complete polar opposite to that. It's Chelsea.
I figured I'd seen everything over the last year, and West Ham becoming like the people's champion is just not one of them that I expected. I mean, pandemic, fair. I mean, of course it was going to happen, but West Ham becoming the people's champion, the neutrals' favourite, the Champions League contenders, threatening to bring down the monopoly. I mean, what is going on there? No disrespect, West Ham fans, but you're not the most popular club going around. And here we are. You're sitting fifth in the league. Fantastic team. David Moyes is back, I guess, if you want to say that. He's back to his Everton best. And he's threatening to do exactly what he did with Everton, really. A couple of slightly worrying signs for West Ham and the last few games. The Declan Rice obviously hasn't been in there. He's been injured and will still remain out for a little bit of time. Defence maybe creaking a bit in his absence. I know they conceded 3 in his last game against Arsenal, but they've conceded 2 in each of the last 3. A 3-2 win, a 3-2 win, and a 3-2 loss. It's not ideal, because it means in those days when your strikers aren't turning up, when Antonio maybe doesn't turn up, or if he's out, if Bowen doesn't turn up, you're putting a lot of pressure on those players, I think. And when you concede in 2, you can't really expect to even get a point from a game. So you probably think they need to patch that defence up a little bit. Obviously made a little bit more difficult by Craig Dawson's absence. Got sent off it was a very, very silly second yellow. It was a second yellow, but it was very silly on his part. You get a feeling they probably need to tighten up if they're going to do this.
Yeah, it looks like Balbuena will come in for Dawson, and I think he's a very good backup. So I think defensively, it won't look too different. But you mentioned someone earlier at the other end of the pitch, Antonio. With him being out and West Ham likely to have less of the ball, he's exactly the sort of player you're going to want at the other end, with Jesse Lingard running, being direct at that Chelsea back line. We all know how strong West Ham have been going forwards. They've scored a lot of goals. They've been clinical when they needed to. Like you said, the defence now, without Rice, without Dawson, there is a question mark there. But if they can keep on this 3-2 rhythm, maybe their dream's still on.
No, absolutely. I mean, certainly they're still very much in the race, and I still think they will do it, given their fixtures, given the fact that Chelsea have a bit of Champions League involvement. They have their fingers in other pies, so to speak. And obviously an FA Cup final coming at the end of the season as well. So I think West Ham will probably still do it. I still back them, but yeah, just need to tighten up at the back a little bit and be satisfied with those 1-0 wins, those 2-1 wins, as opposed to putting everybody's nerves through the shredder at the end of games, trying to fight back into them from 2 or 3 down. Chelsea, quite the opposite. I mean, there's only been 2 goals in their last 3 games across both teams. So a 1-0 loss, a 1-0 win, and a 0-0 draw. You just can't quite find that sort of consistent goal scorer. And this is a time when Tammy Abraham was making headlines as being dropped and being cut out of the squad. Seen him, he's been linked with a return to Aston Villa, but on a permanent deal. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because my housemate is a Chelsea fan, and his friends in their little WhatsApp group, they all have a bit of a thing about Tammy sort of just not being that technically brilliant up front, but he still gets the job done. He still wins stuff in the air. He's a tall presence. He's quick. And he just seems to be in the right places to finish them off. Maybe he's not an elite striker, but he still scores the goals.
And I wouldn't say technically he's not very good. I think he's much better than he gets credit for. I remember going back to Molineux last season. I was really looking forward to it. Chelsea, at home, big game. Tammy Abraham scored a hat-trick. He absolutely destroyed that Wolves back line. The third goal, he was 1-on-1 with Cody, and he flapped him, went outside and fired past Patricio, and it was brilliant. And,
I remember that one.
We didn't really have any complaints because he was outstanding, and I think he's shown for Chelsea and for other teams that he is definitely good enough to be a top Premier League striker. Top 6 is different because they play by their own rules, those big 6, and offensively they can't have any room for doubt, which is why they spend so much money on their players. Rather than maybe trying Abraham and giving him some time, they bought Werner for 50 odd million. So that's how they play the game and how they feel like they have to keep reaching that top 4 and the Champions League. So yes, I think Abraham will leave. And this season, it would be funny to me if he did get much more of a look in, because they've got players like Pulisic and Ziyech and Havertz behind Werner, for example, who have been stepping up, but that big word, the big C, consistency, hasn't been there. Defensively, they have been. 4 goals conceded in their last 13 games is outstanding. But then they go from beating City in an FA Cup semi-final to scrambling to a 0-0 draw against Brighton. So it's that inconsistency that could keep them out of the Champions League and the top 4. Probably West Ham benefiting from that, but they've got all the foundations. They just need that one player to win a header in the right place or snaffle in a rebound. Until the end of the season, I think they'll scrape by like that.
And what's your prediction for this one? Big game. I guess a win for either. It's obviously not fatal to the other team's chances, but it would be a big signal going in with sort of 5 games to go after that with a little 3-point lead. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, we haven't really sold it as a massive scoring game with the Chelsea being so good defensively, Antonio being out. I'm going 1-1. I think Chelsea will score, but West Ham have got a bit about them. They don't give up this season.
Feels a little bit like attack versus defence, or it could be. I don't know. Could be that. A little bit of Lingard getting in there. If anybody's going to get in there and score, he's the man on form right now across the Premier League. I'll join you with that. I'll join you with a little 1-1 there. And we'll see how that one goes. Good luck to both teams as they battle till the end of the season. We hope they are both still battling right until the final whistle of the final game. And moving on to Super Sunday, a little quick shout out to your boys Wolves against Burnley. That's a 12 o'clock kickoff. It's on BBC, so you can enjoy that one for free. Moving on to later in the afternoon, we have a huge game that I guess everybody has been looking forward to pretty much since the fixtures came out. It's Leeds United versus Manchester United. What a game. It's on 2 o'clock kickoff on Sky Sports Premier League main event and now. I want to chat about Manchester United with a big grin on my face. So I'm very neutral when it comes to Man United. This is an unbiased opinion. But can we just conclude that Ole is doing a fantastic job yet? Are you ready to concede this? This has been a long-running battle between me and you all season. We've swayed backwards and forwards. We agree and nod politely a lot of the time. Are you willing to accept that Ole is smashing it right now?
Not in those words, no.
No, not having it.
I don't think he's doing a bad job by any means, but smashing it, I can't agree that he's smashing it. In this season where no team has been consistent enough, City have taken this big lead because they got that consistency, 13 wins on the spin between Boxing Day and March. But Man United have been good. They have been grinding out results, but you look at the teams behind them, Leicester aren't challenging for the title as much as we really want them to. West Ham, and Chelsea there have both had their down moments. Man United are the best of a bunch that haven't been brilliant. We spoke about Leicester in third and how they've dropped off. Jamie Vardy's having maybe his worst patch of form ever at Leicester. So I think if the competition was better and Man United were in second, but Liverpool were the same Liverpool and Spurs had been resurgent, then you could say, yes, Ollie, wow, you're really doing better than these brilliant teams. But he's got his team more points than teams that aren't at their level this season. And I think that has to come into play. He's nowhere near a title challenge, really. And at Manchester United, they expect nothing less.
But isn't that what we want from Man United, though? You want that. There's so many times in the past where they've fallen. I know there was that famous one, I think it was against Burnley when they lost 2-0 and the world sort of caved in a little bit in, I think it was last January or something. And I don't know why I remember that. I just do. Anyway. There has been so many times over the last few years United haven't beaten those teams, and now they actually pretty much consistently are beating every team they should beat, and I think that's a very good sign of progress for Man United. Obviously not the finished article. They've obviously beaten Man City at times. They've got good results against some of the bigger boys. Looking at some of the stats here, they've got let's have a look. They've won the last 4 by 2 goals each. They've won the last 5 in all competitions. They've lost 1 in 20. Their last defeat was in January. That was against Sheffield United. The one in January was Sheffield United. The one game they've lost since then was the one against Leicester in the quarterfinals, which, that's probably the one game they wanted to win out of all of that lot, really. I just think they've done a good job, and I think they look like a settled team now. I think United, it was always going to be a bit of a slow rebuild sort of over the last year or two, especially in these times. But I'm just encouraged by them, and I think if they go out and get somebody like, maybe it's not a Haaland, but a big consistent goal scorer, focal point up front. Even if Cavani plays every week and hits top gear, you never know. I don't know. I don't think they're far away from being a very, very good title challenging dare I even suggest Champions League threat in there? Maybe I'm going too far. Your face says I am, but I think they are a growing team, and each of those players is getting a little bit more experienced, a little bit older, but not too old. So they're coming into their primes. I mean, Fernandes is still so young. I think that in Maguire, we always criticise Maguire when he's off form or makes a mistake, but I think he's shown a lot of leadership this season in tougher times. And actually, again, the other day with the Super League stuff, apparently he was quite a big presence among the players. I just think there are a lot of signs that are going well for Man United right now.
Don't think that I'm totally disagreeing with you. I don't disagree, really. I think Ollie is doing a good job. And I think one thing that you're right is he's created that settled side. So all the news that's come out today in the last couple of days is Fernandes happy to sign a new contract as long as Pogba does. You get them two to sign new contracts. It sets the tone, and it makes it look like United are building again, rather than scrabbling and piecing together this kind of patchwork quilt. They're creating a side, and I think they are doing that. The part I disagreed was the smashing it. I don't think they're overachieving. They're just getting back to a place where they are going to be in contention for top four. And yes, like you said, their results have been good. They haven't always flattered on the pitch, but they've got them out. Behind the scenes, things aren't settled as maybe they are on the pitch. Obviously, with the fans storming the training ground today, making their voices heard against the owners. Hopefully that doesn't disrupt what Ollie's got going on the pitch. But yeah, I would say they're on the right path, footballing wise, for sure, mate.
Fair play. I just want to prod the bear a little bit, just see what happens. Poke the bear, kick the hornet's nest. And they obviously go up against where they're going to Ellen Road. I mean, what a game this would have been had we been able to have fans, especially given the week we've had. Oh my word, that would have kicked off. I'm sure there'll be some form of potential gathering outside of Ellen Road at some point, but we'll see what transpires over the weekend. How do you see this one going down between two good United teams? What's going to happen?
Leeds, let's give them a little bit of praise. Just over 20% possession against Man City and got the W. And then they got a point off Liverpool as well. They've got Koch, and they've got Llorente, and they've got Strauch, 3 centre-backs who can do a job. They've got it all going. They are relentless, they're unpredictable, and they are box office. And I can't wait for this one the weekend. And do you know what? I'm backing them 2-1.
Ooh, he's gone big. I'm going with a 2-2 draw. I can see... What can I see? I can see a very good game. I can see this being a very, very good game. I think United... They are out. Are they out of the title race completely? Are we totally writing them off yet? I mean,
yeah. After City beat Villa, they kept that. I think,
that may have been the clincher, wasn't it? I think had City lost last night and United won tonight, that would have made an interesting final few games. But I think United can go out there, play without pressure. I think, like you say, the mood among the players could be galvanised after the last week. I think they'll do well. But obviously, Leeds. More than a match for any team in the league, and their fitness levels, just a shout out to their fitness levels. They are still going, still playing their style of football, and actually improving while other teams look like they're slowing down. Leeds just find another gear. Fantastic. I'm going with a 2-2 draw, and let's just hope it lives up to its billing. And moving on to the afternoon, we're going to take a little deviation away from the Premier League. Not permanently to a breakaway or anything like that, but we're going to go into the Carabao Cup final between Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur. I feel that there's only one place to start when we're talking about Spurs. Jose Mourinho, I love that guy. Unconditional love for that guy. Was it the right time for Jose to go?
It sounds financially like it was.
It's the right time for him to go, yeah.
It was somewhere, went around on WhatsApp, that apparently if Jose got sacked when he's in the top four, it's £30 million cash out. If he's in the top six, it's a lower figure, and if he's outside the top six, that figure that Tottenham would have paid him as compensation was much, much, much lower. So I think Levy, in the cloud of the ESL, made a financial decision, as Levy likes to do, to do it in the week of the cup final, where you can win your first trophy for plenty and plenty of years, is a very interesting one. But they've done it, and you can't argue too much. Spurs don't look brilliant at the minute. They got humbled in Zagreb in the Europa League, and I think that was the real turning point. That was a real low moment for Spurs, let alone this Spurs. And they haven't really bounced back from it as they would have hoped. We spoke about them over the pods over the last few weeks. They've had players who have had patches. Harry Kane's done all he can to drag this Spurs team to points.
What a guy.
His ankles and hamstrings just like bowing under the pressure of a big club. But frankly, they bought Mourinho to win something. They didn't, but they also took the chance off him. So it's an interesting one, and Mourinho will be fine. He'll go get a nice big job somewhere. Ryan Mason till the end of the season. You love to see it. Youngest ever Premier League manager. I hope it all works out for him temporarily. And then in the summer, there's people available. Nagelsmann spoke about again. Marcelino. There's some good managers out there, and yes, Spurs could come back stronger from this.
Ryan Mason, he's 29. Trying to do some quick maths in my head. He's younger than the Premier League, isn't he? He's the first manager younger than the Premier League to manage in the Premier League. That's some going. I mean, what a story that is. His boy from Enfield, been at the club for years and years and years and years, and he's already in there as the manager. His first week, it's a cup final. I mean, what a time he's landed into that job perfectly, really.
It's wonderful. I really like it. I saw a stat online that Ryan Mason played a keeper, I think it was 5 years older than him in Hugh Lloris in his first match. If Crystal Palace manager Roy Hodgson was playing manager 5 years older than him, it would be Dino Zoff. So I think that shows you the experience deficit that Ryan Mason's got to make up there.
Yes, I love it. I love it a lot. And I mean, it smacks quite a lot of, obviously, not on the same level as Lampard, but nowhere near the same level as Lampard. But you do wonder whether just that maybe lighter. This is no disrespect to either manager. They are serious managers with serious tactics and a serious approach to football. But you do wonder whether just that little bit of bringing a bit of personality back to the club, or a little bit of Mourinho. For as much as I love Mourinho, you do just get that vibe of standoffishness around the club, and you wonder whether they're truly playing for Mourinho, whether there's sort of a little bit of sniggering and laughing behind his back, something at the Mourinho way. I wonder whether Mason is that sort of guy who just commands these players' attention, even if he is a bit younger. Obviously, he's been around them, he knows them. I'm sure he'll get on with a lot of them. His post-match interview after his first game was so strong, and full of praise for the players, and I think that's sometimes what the modern footballer needs, just a bit of an arm around their shoulders. And I don't always think Mourinho gives that, especially in public. He doesn't give that. Interesting. I'd be very, very interested to see how Mason does here, and whether it's an audition, whether it's just a see how it goes, limp them through the end of the season. I still expect them to go out and get a big manager from somewhere, big name manager from somewhere. But what a chance. And if he can lift a trophy, he can retire at 29.
And shout out to Chris Powell, who's joined the management team with Ryan Mason. He is a brilliant, experienced, dedicated manager who knows the business inside out. He'll be shepherding Ryan around the managerial pitfalls, I'm sure. So could be quite a good team until the end of the season, because I'm sure it will last that long.
I hope he just takes the shackles off. I know Mourinho ball is effective when it needs to be, or it has been effective. I still quite like that approach of digging in deep and sort of defend first and hit on the break. I'd be fascinated, even just now for 5 games, just to see Spurs go for it. Obviously, it's a bit harder with Kane out, but I'd love to see them just attack. and see what happens. I know there's a lot on the line. There's top 4 potentially still on there. There's a lot still to play for, but I would love to see it. I would love to see Bale, Kane, and Son just at absolute full tilt. It's what everybody wants to see, and I'd love to think Mason has the stones to do it. One team who may not have the stones. Segue. Yeah, you see where I was going there after his red card during the week is Manchester City. They're going to want to win this. They're going to want to get the fans back on side. They're going to want to put smiles on faces. They're going to want to divert this attention away from the last week. They are going to want to win this trophy more than ever, really.
Yeah, 3 wins from the Prem title. They're in the Champions League semis, and this game against the weakened Spurs. On the pitch, all signs are pointing. Man City, a historic treble on the cards still, despite the FA Cup mishap. But yes, they've got some work to do on the pitch to regain that faith, as all the sides that signed up to the ESL seem to do. You wouldn't bet against them when the plethora of talent they've got, the match winners that step up. Phil Foden, I don't know if we spoke about him too much on this podcast, but what an absolute mercurial talent we've got as another fellow England player. Not fellow England player, that's just my dreams. But to be wearing...
And then he woke up. Yeah.
I also have bought the shirts with Phil Foden, wonderful player, brilliant. And what I like about him most is the impact that he makes on games. Yes, he's technically brilliant. Yes, he's versatile, which makes him so useful to managers. But he impacts games. He scores goals. He takes on men. He sets things up. His goal against Villa the other day, he fizzed the pass out wide, got in the box, pulled away to the penalty spot and finished it with ease. He's got a bit of everything, and he's the sort of match winner that could really put Spurs to sword this weekend.
Absolutely. I've seen Foden a few times. I'm trying to watch him a little bit more often. I'm trying to, because every time you see it, you can sometimes sort of see the highlights of a player, and you can sort of see them in one game or score that one goal, and then actually they disappear for a few games. And there are some games where he has been quieter, but I think that's expected from every player. But the way he can control a game, like literally control a game and dictate the play, cutting in from that right hand side with his left foot, some of his goals he scored this season. It's a real coming of age year from Phil Foden, and I still feel like he's not quite. I feel like people don't quite see, and he isn't. He's not quite seen as the main man for City yet, or the sort of absolute nailed on starter for City yet. I think that's probably next season's project, to see him as that absolute unquestionable one of the first names on the team sheet. Obviously, once Aguero leaves and they do whatever they like with a striker, if they bring Haaland in, who knows? But yeah, I think what a season he's had, and what a talent we have on our hands for England. I was thinking about this earlier actually as well. Kane, Grealish, and Foden. I really want to see it. I'm not sure whether, because they all sort of come for the ball rather than, you maybe something. I don't know. Does that mean Kane might have to play a bit further forward, less of a quarterback, and actually more as an out-and-out striker if you've got the other two? Does that change Kane's role? But if there is a way to squeeze those three into that team, sign me up. What is going to happen in the Carabao Cup final? What's your prediction for this one, Mr. Wilson?
It's tough, isn't it? Well, if we're not going to give it to Brentford now, which is a shame, you can't look past City. I think, especially if Kane is less than 100%, it really does knock Spurs, as it would any team that has Harry Kane. And City, they showed their resilience against Villa. They could have lost that game. They didn't. They're going to win the Carabao Cup again.
Yeah, I can't see past City. Everybody wants Ryan Mason to win this thing. I mean, that would be incredible. I just think Pep may run a couple of rings around Spurs this weekend, given all the turmoil. Fantasy Premier League. How are you looking in Fantasy Premier League? How's it going?
We're coming to the crunch time now, where the lots of people have dropped off, Michael. The leagues are getting a bit thinner. People aren't taking it so seriously. And this is me and you get those green arrows, Michael, because we stay on it. All right.
Pop up.
I haven't. This week hasn't been brilliant. Kane obviously being injured, and he was my captain with the double game week. He's done all right, but could have done better. But next game week, obviously no Spurs and no City players, and that's 5 of my squads taken out straight away. So I've got rid of Stones and I've got rid of Calvert-Lewin because he's still 50% for the game, and I've brought in Kabak because Liverpool's running is tidy. And as we spoke about, Michael, I found the money for Edison Cavani because as he came off the bench and he made an impact. So even if he doesn't start every game, I back him to get those returns.
Yeah, I picked him up last week, didn't I? And then he came off the bench. I saw him on the bench. I was like, oh, man, not looking forward to the pod. And then he came off and did it. So maybe I was looking forward to the pod. Also, shout out to his fellow Man United teammate, Mason Greenwood, who is joining the party at long last. 7.1 million. He goes down as a midfielder. So that's an interesting shout as well. There's a lot of bargain midfielders, I guess, around there, sort of around that mark. But Greenwood is forcing his way into that. Some huge points totals in the last few weeks. I'm struggling with Chelsea. Oh my word, Chelsea are putting me through the ringer. I have Mendy, Azpilicueta, and Christensen, and I don't think 2 of them even have started like at the same time across the whole of it. But fortunately, I've got Melia on the bench with 5 points to come in for Mendy. And Christensen, who got 7 points, is coming off the bench for Azpilicueta, who got 0. So it kind of works. I've got some sort of weird, just any time Chelsea play, I have the bases covered. But yeah, Stones being out, bit of a blow. Obviously, a couple of blank game weeks to navigate. Looking forward to doing that. I've got Iheanacho. I mean, by the time this pod goes out, it'll be Friday. So, let's bask in Iheanacho's hat-trick, which is going to happen against West Brom. We shall see. And Jesse Lingard just remains the boy. Have you still haven't got Jesse Lingard, have you?
No, I can't figure it out, so I'm just ignoring it for now. Put it under
I just keep setting you challenges.
Put under the rug. Yeah, no. See, Jesse, you do well over there. I'm not watching.
I'm persisting with Jota as well. I'm still going with Jota. They've got a few fixtures coming up that aren't too bad, but it's Liverpool, and they're not quite explosive, are they, anymore? But we'll see. Moving on, finally, like I say, you don't need us to tell you that the Super League has gone down like a balloon filled with bricks, filled with lead, filled with every other heavy substance on the planet. It has gone down badly. Florentino Perez continues to say that it's just on standby despite everybody leaving. He truly is at the party by himself. It's not been a good week for football, or maybe it has. I mean, I was sort of leaning towards the idea of let them go and just let's reform football, let's reshape football. Of course, the so-called Big Six, as we will just refer to them as the Six, are staying with English football. But this is an opportunity, isn't it, Mr. Wilson? We chatted a little bit, but this is an opportunity where we've seen how powerful fans can be. We've seen how much clubs have missed fans over the last year in terms of atmosphere, in terms of match day revenues. And it feels like there's been some big wins from fans recently. Big picture sort of got crumbled and smashed. The pay-per-view got overturned. The Super League now has crumbled as sort of fans 3, owners 0 over lockdown. I guess, how would you like to see this be used for a positive? I mean, seeing fans protesting and united. I mean, we've seen Dortmund and Bayern Munich were united, and Leeds and Liverpool and Man United, they were all united. Like some of the Newcastle fans standing side by side. How would you like to see fans sort of protest or work together for change in football? It's quite a big question, that.
Yeah, a few days on from the eye of the storm, we're not in the worst situation in the world. Obviously, money rules football, from the broadcasters to the owners to, every aspect of football is set up so these businesses, and they are businesses, can just carry on being successful. But we as fans have a say because we can hit them where it hurts. We can turn off the TV. We can stop getting the subscriptions. We can stop going to matches because it's the pockets that at the end of the day. So I think it's been nice to see that, we are hitting them where it hurts when we need to. But there are so many issues in football that we need to tackle with the same vigor, really. I think Patrick Bamford said it early in the week about racism. There's the racism in the game today, unfortunately, for many fans, is disgraceful, and it needs to be, rooted out of this game, especially on social media platforms where it's so easy and so prevalent to see it. So yeah, we need to attack that with the same vigor, and then as fans, we are given a rough deal sometimes. The broadcasters change the times, so Leeds fans have to travel down to Brighton on a Monday night, as an example, and ticket prices, they aren't reasonable for an everyday fan who doesn't want to spend a day's wage on going to a game with his family. So I think those are the things that we could tackle from here, and hopefully football clubs will see that at least in the short term, because I think change is inevitable, as we've seen with the Champions League changing their new format that has really gone under the radar this year. The new league table format that looks very odd and suspect and needs analysis from the clubs. But teams can't spend what they want, and the money spent on players like Willian's been a big example, and Eden Hazard. Maybe that doesn't happen so often, and maybe more money we need to look at filtering down the leagues so teams grassroots can survive. So I think there's a lot in the game that can do with tackling, but I think we as fans definitely have a say, and we have a voice, and we've made it heard here. And I think that is a lovely positive spin, is to look at how we have changed the game here. Hopefully it's not just a placebo and it wasn't being changed from the top anyway, but take that positive spin, take that optimism, and let's put it towards other things in the game that could be better, because it's a game for everyone. It's a game we all love, and it's a game that deserves being protected and being safe for everyone. So hopefully football's stronger from here on out.
And the mayoral elections are on the 6th of May. And if you would like to vote for Jake Wilson, please just get in touch with us. Tell us, write to us, tweet us at Radio Times Sport, and we will forward your votes to the vote guys. Very well said, Mr. Wilson.
Please don't put my name on the ballot. Please do not put my name on the ballot. I'm not ready to that commitment.
I mean, I think you're safe, but I would vote for you. I'd follow you into battle. Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity, isn't it? I think we've seen the collective power of fans, and it's the cliche, football without fans is nothing. This is a time, I think, to sort of strike while the iron's hot. Really, I'd actually love to see a salary cap on the Premier League, and I know this is sort of the legalities of it, and I know this is a big change, but I just think clubs don't want to spend these enormous wages. Barcelona don't want to spend these enormous wages on these players. It's crippled some of their finances at the top, even though they are raking in billions and billions of pounds or euros, whatever it is. And I'd love to see some sort of global cap that not instantly, but just sort of steadily reduces, so that we see wages coming down, and that wages to turnover ratio. I think that's such an it's crippling so many clubs, because they feel like they have to pump sometimes more than their entire turnover just on a wage bill. I've heard at some clubs in the Football League, that pressure to do that is just overwhelming. So I'd love to see just those reins brought in a little bit, and that means those owners can actually still make more of a profit because they're shelling out less on those players, but then that profit could be then distributed among fans, or it could be used to bring ticket prices down. I just think football needs to just simmer down a little bit. It feels like it's reached this boiling point, this exponential growth that just can't be sustained. And I just think if we bring it all down, we rein it in a little bit, we chill out from the top down. I don't know. I think something like a salary cap, or some. I'm not saying it, I don't know all the details of how that would work, but just something to rein in those finances, to make it a sustainable game for everybody. And yeah, just maybe bring those top guys a little bit closer in touch with the rest of the league. Yeah, I just think that's the sort of the gradual chilling out process that football needs right now. And those owners can still make their money. I'm fine with owners making money out of football because it's a business, as you say. It's when that greed overtakes competition. That's just when you have gone too far, my friends. And fans will fight against that. Thank you very much for your thoughts, Mr. Wilson. Really appreciate your time, as always. What's coming up in the magazine this week?
Yes, Match of the Day magazine, a home of good quality, calm football content. It is our Champions League Dream Team issue. So Europe's top competition. There's been some amazing ballers in there, and we want to celebrate them. So you'll have to see who makes our special 11 there. We've got some of the most influential ballers in the game. Yes, Mr. Marcus Rashford does make an appearance. And we also say goodbye to Sergio Aguero before he seems like he leaves City. And, Michael, it's not even about the content as well, because there are £4 worth of match attacks on the front of every mag. So that's a full pack of the best cards and a full pack of extra cards. So you get such a big package of good stuff there.
Everything.
I like it, man. I like it.
I'm a big fan of the match attacks. That would take me in. But Sergio Aguero, you just reminded me he's leaving. Oh, what's this? Oh, he's flashing his match attacks. Sergio
I haven't opened mine yet. I'm excited, mate. I'm excited.
I'm not quite ready for Aguero to leave. Absolutely love that man. But that is a conversation for another time. I'm aware we all need to go off and get on with our lives. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Football Times podcast. You can come to radiotimes.com/TV/sport for all of the latest sporting previews. We've got all the football coming up this weekend, and we have a bit of World Snooker action. World Snooker Championships are ongoing. Love the snooker, me. Absolutely love the snooker. Come and check out all the schedules, the guides, when Ronnie's playing, all that jazz. And we'll speak to you next week. Thanks very much for listening. Cheers.